Mayor Aaron, I'm concerned. You have been acting a little bit
crazy, co-mayor Alexa. Is that what you were gonna say? Crazy? Do you not like it when Mayor Aaron is a wee bit unhinged?
You're right. I mean, I know it's been a rough month with all the girls missing and being stuck in the attic, but I have a plan.
Oh, a plan, do you? Yes. I have one of my own, which is why I created my monster Jillenstein.
Yes, so I don't know how much help she is going to be. She keeps saying the same things.
Mayor Aaron and co-mayor Alexa. Good friends.
I told you we need to work on her a little bit more. Or I could just shock myself again and create more monsters. Yes, an army of them.
Okay, no. You'll hurt yourself. Plus, we will make do with what we have. Or try to at least.
Perhaps you're right. But we haven't seen or heard from the others. They may be in trouble.
Or dead.
Shh! Silence! That demon talk!
Yeah, well, I'm not going to sit around to find out. I have the location of where my figure decoy was taken. We are going to scout it out.
Yes, that is a wonderful plan. Us three, we shall go together and find the killers.
You're not coming. I'm taking Jillenstein. You need to go to the hospital. I think the jigsaw killer didn't perform sterile surgery, and you have an infection. That's why you're acting crazy.
Yeah, come to think of it, my wound, it's not feeling too good. But before I go to the hospital and get treated, I must embrace this craziness and do a figure history of the craziest superstar I know. Yes, one that just made her return to Raw and just followed us on Instagram. Nikki Cross.
Good.
Hey y'all, welcome to LumberJillville. Women's wrestling lives here. Now before I go to the hospital and get this infection taken care of that has spread through my body, I want to do a figure history of the craziest and one of my favorite superstars out there, Nikki Cross, or Nikki ASH according to one of her figure releases. She's had 4 figures released so far, and I'm sure she'll have more in the future, but I just wanted to cover all of her releases so far, so without further ado, let's dive in. Nikki's first in the line figure with WWE Elite Series 66, released in 2019. This attire is from NXT TakeOver War Games 2017, which took place on November 18th. On this night, Nikki Cross faced off against Kairi Sane, Ember Moon, and Peyton Royce in a fatal 4-way for the NXT Women's Championship. Ember Moon would come out victorious on this night. Alright, so Nikki's first figure in the line, and her first and only Elite at the time of this recording, is a doozy, and I mean that with all due respect in a good way, because there's tons and tons of detail put to this figure that I've never gotten to review on the channel up close until today, so I'm real excited. Now, it is important to note that there are 2 variants of this Elite. There were some that were packaged with the scarf on, and some that were packaged with it off as a separate accessory. So I'm not sure which one mine is, because obviously I put everything on this figure as soon as I opened it. So just taking a look at this figure with all the accessories on, I mean, it's pretty awesome, pretty intense, and is a real good example representation of her sanity gimmick, the unhinged, crazy Nikki Cross that we just saw recently come back on Monday Night Raw. This is a great representation, and I prefer to have all the accessories on. So those accessories I'm talking about are these little sunglasses that slide right off, and then this scarf mask combo with a hood that also slides off. Now that's where we get to the most glaring issue of this figure, and that's the face scan. I am not too crazy about this face scan and face sculpt. I really don't think it looks like her. I do think it's one of those things that looks better in person, but to me, it's just not very good. But I do like the hair sculpt here. I like how it's just crazy and messy and all over the place. Really represents her gimmick. She has this really cool plastic or rubber vest jacket type thing. It's got a collar popped up. We got a logo on the front there. We have a belt. We have that zipper that's painted in a metallic silver. And then we have the logo on the back. And yeah, just a lot of sculpted detail that went into this figure that is great. So even when we take that off, looking what's underneath is another layer. And that's this rubbery type shirt. And yeah, this is awesome. This is probably the best part about the figure. And it sucks because you don't really get a good look at that with this jacket on. But this is such a unique material. This is very similar to that new jacket technology that we just recently saw in that Ronda Rousey Elite 97. It's very flexible, very stretchy, like a rubber type material, and it has a lot of sculpting and molding in it. A lot of detail here, even with the laces sculpted on, and yeah, it's awesome. Underneath is just a generic black sports bra mold, but this top is awesome. Moving on down to the legs here. There are some awesome sculpted slashes here in the pant mold, which is great. And then a lot of detail in the icons and logos here throughout. And then they kind of have a bell-bottom finish and down to the shoes. So yeah, this Elite is a doozy. I think if that face scan and sculpt was a little better, this would be one of the all-time best women's Elites. But as it stands now, it's definitely a top competitor. It's just that face is a little bit off here. But definitely a cool Elite. WWE Basic Series 111 Nikki Cross, regular version, released in 2020. This attire is from the January 31st, 2020 edition of SmackDown, where her and Alexa Bliss teamed up to defeat Fire and Desire in a tag team match. Chase version, released in 2020. This attire is from the July 8th, 2019 edition of Raw, where Nikki defeated Dana Brooke in a Beat the Clock challenge match. Alright, so Basic Series 111 saw not one, but two brand new releases of Nikki Cross. Now, I have to be honest with you, I was so disappointed when I saw images of these figures, and then when I got them into LJV and reviewed them, I was bummed out because, in my opinion, these are not good figures, okay? I think they made some questionable part choices, and just the overall finished product is not good in my opinion. So let's take a close look at the regular version, which I do think is the better of the two. And that's because we get the blue and pink design on the top. And this is very similar to her tag team partnership with Alexa Bliss, which was a blip in time, but I was a big fan of that tag team. They did hold the women's tag team championships there. And yeah, this is the one and only representation we have of Nikki in that gimmick there. She does have just plain black pants, but it works fine. In this face scan, this is also one of my big complaints of this basic 111 release, is the face scan and sculpt. She just looks so annoyed. She just looks like, ugh, Aaron's reviewing me. I like the hair sculpt, but yeah, the face scan and face sculpt, I think it resembles her, but it just looks so annoyed here. Maybe it was printed on wrong. But let's find out when we take a look at the Chase, which I think is the weaker of the two. Yeah, so this scan and sculpt is not much better. Still looks like, ugh, I'm so annoyed with being here. Ugh. So, yeah, I think it's an improvement as far as the scan and sculpt goes over the Elite, but it is not very good in my opinion. The hair sculpt is cool. And the attire, this is what made me so mad. It drove me nuts. Not only do we have that Victoria's Secret belly button, dimpled belly button, but this top, it has a bunch of layers painted on. So she infamously wears a vest, kind of like what we saw in the Elite, this like cloth vest, but she wears layers in her top. And here, we don't have that. We have the layers painted on, which looks cheap, it looks crappy, it looks dumb, and it looks ridiculous in my opinion. Anytime they try to paint layers on, it usually fails, and this one was the biggest fail, especially because this attire here, even with the gray pants here, it's pretty iconic to Nikki Cross, and she's worn this attire on multiple occasions, but the execution here is just terrible. And on top of that, if you look at the part choices here, she has really long legs, they made her way too tall, and yeah, just overall, bad part choices, bad execution here on these figures, not a fan. WWE Basic Series 135, Nikki ASH, released in 2022. This attire was worn on the July 19th edition of Monday Night Raw, where Nikki would cash in her Money in the Bank contract and pin an exhausted Charlotte Flair to win the Raw Women's Championship. Alright, so I did do a full review of this figure not too long ago on the channel, so I'll make this pretty brief. The main thing I'm going to say is this figure freaking rules. This basic is amazing. And with that Xia Li basic coming out, the last two women's basics have been home runs in my opinion. This is just a tremendous figure. I mean, I was worried when I heard this was going to be released in the basic line because this is an easy decision to make in the elite line, right? And they went with the basic line. I was nervous, but the finished product here is pretty darn cool. We do have a lot of unique sculpting here, especially with that mask sculpted on. And it's got a nice bright smile like Nikki has. The hair sculpt's cool, and the attire really does pop and looks good, even if it is just painted deco. So yeah, I think the one and only representation we got of Nikki ASH is fantastic, but I do hope we get an elite of this character, even if it's in kind of the reverse colors, where it's black and gold. I think that would be amazing. But yeah, for what this figure is, it is a tremendous representation of this gimmick. Alright, so now it's time for a little figure ranking of the 4. So at number 4, to no one's surprise, I have Basic Series 111, that Chase version. Ugh, yeah, not a fan, and it doesn't stand too well, I should say that. At number 3, we have Basic 111, regular version. I do like that we got those colors of the Bliss Cross Applesauce team, and this pairs nicely with an Alexa Bliss figure. However, it's just not proportionate, not a good figure. Okay, and at number 2, we have Basic 135 Nikki ASH. This was a tough decision because I think this basic is near perfect. I think it's tremendous. However, I think her Elite 66 is definitely her best figure, at least so far at the time of this recording, because of all the attention to detail that it went into this. And even though I'm not the biggest fan of that face scan and sculpt, I think it makes up for it, more than makes up for it, with all the unique detailing in the attire and just how great this figure is of embodying that crazy sanity, Nikki Cross. Whoa. Not so fast, Bronco boy. Oh, I know, old chap. Oh, I know it makes you angry. But since you're new here, I want you to sit down and take a listen about why me and our master are taking it personal. You see, me and her were forgot about. We were promised fame, fortune, and TV time in LumberJillville, and guess what, Bucko Boy? We were forgotten about. You know what Mayor Aaron once told Master? He said, Oh, you are going to be a future star in Total Matellas. Oh, well, guess what, Bucko Boy? Total Matellas is dead. He lied to us. He forgot about us. And pretty soon, he'll know the mistake he made. So our master will make the decision when to kill. No one else, buddy.